name is Seyi Adediwura. But I go by Seyi because, most people can't say Seyi. Yeah. Before it would have been, Burner Boy, it's plenty because it's plenty in it. But I like Big Seven now. It literally gives like big energy. I love Big Seven. That's my intro song for sure. Yeah. I am from Nigeria, so I'm from Ekiti, but I grew up in Abuja. I am a software engineer full-time. That's what I do. But I also have a second career. It started as a hobby, but now as a career. So I do music as my second career. So saxophone for like weddings, birthday parties, events. Musical tours now too, apparently. The ministry is moving. Yeah. When I was younger, I read the book by Ben Carson. I think almost every Nigerian kid read that book at some point. I always thought I was going to be a doctor. My parents wanted me to be a doctor, but I realized when I got to college that med school was super expensive. I'm not going to med school. And yeah, I ended up majoring in mathematics, and then I self-taught software. And yeah, so I wasn't always interested, but now I can't see how I wasn't going to do software to begin with. I went to Houston Tilton University. It's a small HBC in Austin, Texas. I think going to school there just really helped me realize, I guess early, that it's not about what you do, but it's about the people. And I think once I realized that, it was less about what I did and more about the impact it had on people. In college, I had 3 tech internships. My first year, I did robotics research at the University of Texas at Austin. I also did an MIT research program for 5 weeks. My sophomore year, I did an internship at Spectrum. It was Time Warner Cable at the time, so TWC Spectrum. And then my junior year, I did an internship with PayPal. And yeah, I came back with them full time. I've been there ever since. So at PayPal, I work on the experimentation platform. So what that means is, I think for every company, before you roll out a product, you want to perform experiments. And what this means is specifically A/B testing. So let's say you want to see how this performs in the US versus China. You can put your control as the US and your test is China, right? Roll that out in the US and you run whatever test you want to run. Let's say it's a blue button. We want to make the blue button red. But you roll out the red button in China. So what you do is you're using data to measure, okay, people actually clicking this button, do people like what they see? If you're testing a feature, you kind of use that to see how customers are engaging with that feature. So yeah, my team works on the platform that powers all of that for PayPal. I was blessed actually to join the team when the platform was in beta. So I pretty much the entire code base. I wrote at least 50 to 60% of the entire code base. So yeah, experimentation has been fun, and it's nice because I did mathematics in college. That was my major, so it was a good merger of mathematics and software. Yeah, so experimentation is what I work on at PayPal. I obviously love what I do. I like the mathematics, the statistics part of things because I love maths. But I think now it's getting to the point where like I said, I've written 50 to 60% of the code base. I wouldn't say it's getting easy, but I think it's to the point where I need to make a change. I know exactly where I'm going. I feel that the challenge is now figuring ways to create a challenge for yourself because you've been there for so long. The work starts to get monotonous because you're the same code base. You're oh yeah, I wrote this function last week. I know exactly, or you wrote the entire class even, so you know exactly what the class does. And then now you have to make a feature change to that class, and so you know exactly what you're doing. So it's not exactly a big change, or you're not doing incrementally big work. It's still big, but not as big as when you first started. So I think that part is hard. You don't feel like you're coasting, but it feels like the work is getting easier. Yeah. So what I've been doing actually is I've been talking to some other our sister teams, so teams that work on there's a instrumentation platform as well. The teams that work on that. So what I did is I just pick up extra work, go through their code base, see something I can learn, and I think that part keeps me busy. But my domain, I'm pretty good at experimenting. It's mathematics and statistics, so I'm pretty good at that domain. So yeah, that part gets tiring. I'm the only black person on my team, actually. Actually, in my director's org, maybe my senior director's org, actually, I'm the only black person. It feels mainly like I don't know, they're probably not thinking this, but personally, I'm just like, oh, like, if I make a mistake or if I do this could reflect, like, badly on my race or on being African or on being Nigerian. They're like, oh yeah, Nigerians are really... Humans tend to, like, stereotype a lot, and I would hate to be the reason that, you know, an entire group of people starts to get stereotypes. I always feel like I'm carrying that, like, burden on my back, even though no one asked me to carry it. But I think in other ways, though, it's helped me stand out. So if I'm talking to a team that's trying to do some experimentation for Black-owned businesses, I feel like my inputs there would be super necessary, right? Because, like, oh, if a Black business wants to take a PayPal credit loan, I would have, like, a lot of knowledge there because I know a lot of friends that have small businesses. I have a small business, like, you know, like, things like that. I'm there, you know that your inputs is really valid. You've lived the life, or you know people that live the life. So I think it's like a blessing and also like a burden at the same time. I mean, at the end of the day, being Black in tech is an experience. I think for me, like, I had a very untraditional path to tech. I self-taught, Udemy, YouTube, all of that, Java, Python, React, Jesus Christ, to get to where I am now. So I would say, like, Rome is not built in a day. I saw this tweet about Nkuli Gold recently. He literally said, dreams come true, but now you dey rush. Meaning, dreams come true, but you're in a hurry. Like, literally don't rush the process, right? Like, just take it one day at a time. Some theories are, like, stupid hard to understand, right? And you're going through them over and over. The first day, it doesn't make sense. The second day, probably still doesn't make sense. But that consistency of, like, trying it over and over, applying it to different situations is just what's going to get you to where you want to go or where you need to do. Consistency and time are your greatest, like, allies. So just be consistent, keep working at it. I got into music from church. I grew up in church. My mom is now an assistant pastor, but growing up, she was one of the female ministers at my church. We would go to church Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for choir practice. So I feel like my whole life was in church. When I started out, like, playing the drums, I picked up the sax. And yeah, I started playing sax when I was 12. I turned 25 this year, so like almost 13 years now. And yeah, since then it's just been like a love, like, relationship. I've always I've always loved music, like any type of music. You know, like how the Spotify Wrapped? My Spotify Wrapped, like, mood is an adventure. I can be listening to metal, rock, or like metal music tomorrow, and the day after, I'm listening to, like, Christina Perry, or like, yeah, I listen to anything. So yeah, that's what got me started, really, church. When I first started, I'm not gonna lie, like, it was just for fun. I think that's the beautiful thing about this. Like, it was always more of like, I can do this, and I want people to know that I can do this. So I would play covers of, like, I think my first cover was like a Justin Bieber song, I think. Yeah, so I would just play covers, like, literally, and at the time I was my, like, first couple of weeks in America, I'd play covers, record them on my Android phone at the time, and post on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So I did that consistently for years. And then randomly, I got, like, a message on YouTube, right, saying, oh, would like to play for, like, a wedding. I was like, oh, a wedding, like, I was just playing for fun. Like, now you want me to play at a wedding. And yeah, I remember, like, going to that wedding. They paid for my flight accommodation, and they paid me to come play at the wedding. At that time, I was like, oh, I didn't even know this was a possibility. Like, someone would pay me to play for a wedding? This is mad. Yeah, so I got really excited about that. So that was the first time I played a wedding. And since then, it's just been weddings, events, birthday parties. But I think the most important thing that's taken me from there now to, like, I guess now, I think the height of the things I've done is, like, going on tour with, like, you know, Ashake, or performing, like, at a music festival with, like, Stoneboy, or performing at a music festival by myself. I think what's gotten me, like, to this point is just consistency. Like, there was a point where I posted a cover every Friday for, like, a year. Like, I was just posting every week. It didn't matter how good. The shade, you didn't remember, right? It didn't remember. It didn't matter how many times, how good the videos were, if the song was a hit or not. It was just Shay Socks Fridays. I'll post every Friday, and I did that for a year, and I got so many like reposts from like, I know Davido reposted like one of the covers. I think that Shaka reposted. That year I got so many reposts, and that's what like helped me build like this community, and people started like knowing about like, oh, Shay Socks, and then that's how I started getting all these opportunities. But I think consistency will really like take you far, like if you're really consistent. Yeah. It's crazy that you mentioned Pivot because like the EP that I dropped in September is called The Pivot. So what inspired that was the tour with Ashake. For lack of better words, like, well, people always say, oh, like, bro, you should pin that to your profile, like, I know that. I was like, yeah, like, I should, but, like, it was a moment in time, like, it happened, but, like, that tour specifically showed me what life could be if I actually went all the way with music. And I'll give you, like, an example. Like, there was a video I saw of Ashake where he said, oh, there was a time where I used to sing backup for Brother Shandy. There was a time where I used to dance backup dancer for people. There was a time where I started learning how to play piano for a year. There was a time where I would just, do whatever, right? So he did all these numerous things, right? But it was like the moment I decided to put it all together and like make it my own, was when, like this whole journey started for me. It's just like I've always been like, well, I have all these talents. I play keyboard, I play drums, I sing, I play sax. If I actually sit down, I'm not like a producer, but I can co-produce, right? Like I know what I want to hear. So I think just seeing him do that, like on tour or like him doing rehearsal, I was like, well, I didn't like how that sounded. Let's do this again. Seeing him put all of those together just made me realize that, okay, maybe I'm not living up to like my complete potential. Maybe I'm only tapping into one part of all the talents that, God gave me, right? Because at the end of the day, right, there's a reason you have all these talents, right? Like, why do you have all of them if you're only using one? So it's just more of use all your talents. Like, you have them for a reason. Like, I think it would be one thing if I could just like hold a note. I can actually sing, right? Like, I've always been like, oh yeah, I don't like my singing voice, but I can actually sing. So I think it's just more of, I want to use all the talents that I have because, I only have one life. Like, what happens if I get to the end of my life? I'm like, oh, I should have sung at some point. I should have been singing, but I don't want to I don't want to have regret. So I want to just do everything now. So that's kind of what inspired that. So what's next for Seyi? Don't quote me on this, but for my performance yesterday, someone told me to go on a mini tour. So apparently that's how you build like a fan base of people who really can relate or connect to your music. So once I dropped my EP in September, the EP dropped September 17th. It's my birthday. Once I drop this EP, I'm going to, me and my producer Coco, whom I end up like doubling as my manager, we're gonna put together like a list of like cities that I think I can go in November. Maybe like Seattle, come back here for one, do like LA, Houston, just like 5 to 7 city tour with like a band, 2-people band. So I think that might be next for me. Don't call me on that because and we need money to obviously do that. But yeah, if we're able to put together the finances, all of that, we'll make it work. We're gonna do it. But if not, like, I'm definitely going on tour next year, like 110%. Yeah.
That's good, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Thanks for having me.
You don't forget to press record.
It's up to
Okay.